What if Ahsoka had found Gungi and the other Padawans after Order 66? The galaxy was in darkness. The Jedi Order was no more. Across the stars, the few survivors of Order 66 were hunted like animals, scattered and broken. Ahsoka Tano had once been part of that order. But she was not a Jedi. Not anymore. Yet, as she stepped onto the abandoned freighter, following the faint pulse in the Force, she realized that her fight was far from over. The ship was silent, its halls dimly lit by flickering emergency lights. The air smelled stale, heavy with the weight of desperation. Then, movement. Ahsoka spun, her hands instinctively going for her hilts. But she froze. 6 young faces stared back at her. They were Padawans. And they were still alive. The younglings had been aboard a transport when Order 66 had turned their entire world upside down. Guided by Master Huyong, the ancient droid who had once helped generations of Jedi forge their lightsabers, they had survived, hiding, running, constantly on the move. But the moment Ahsoka laid eyes on them, she knew the truth. They had no future. Not unless she helped them. "You're alive," Ahsoka whispered, still in shock. Petro, ever brash, nodded. "Barely. We've been running for months." Katuni, more cautious, knowing that Ahsoka had left the Jedi Order. "Are you here to help us?" Ahsoka hesitated. She had spent so long alone, keeping herself detached, hiding in the shadows. But looking at them now, she saw echoes of the Jedi Temple, of what had been lost. She couldn't turn away. "Yeah," she said at last, her voice steady. "I'll help you." Ahsoka knew that taking in 6 Padawans was dangerous. The Empire had Inquisitors scouring the galaxy, hunting down Jedi survivors. But what she hadn't expected was how quickly they would find her. The attack came in the dead of night, while they were hiding in the ruins of an old Clone Wars outpost. The first sign was the shrieking hum of a red lightsaber igniting in the dark. Then, the black-robed figure stepped forward, an Inquisitor. Ahsoka wasted no time. She met him head-on, sabers flashing, dodging his brutal swings. The younglings watched from the shadows, terror in their eyes. But Ahsoka was stronger, faster, better. The Inquisitor faltered, just for a moment. But that was all she needed. With a final strike, she ended him. Silence. Then, a faint beeping. Ahsoka's heart sank. The Inquisitor had activated a locator beacon. They had called in her location, and someone had answered. When Darth Vader learned that his former apprentice was still alive, he did not hesitate. The Inquisitors had failed him time and time again. This was his hunt now. He would find Ahsoka, and she would join him, or die. From that moment forward, nowhere was safe. Ahsoka, Huyong, and the younglings moved from planet to planet, staying ahead of the Empire's reach. She trained them as best she could, helping them hone their abilities while keeping them hidden. Gungi, ever strong, trained with his green-bladed saber in quiet meditation. Biff, timid but wise, grew more confident in his Force abilities. Zat and Gnodi worked together, becoming skilled at piloting and repairs. Katuni and Petro sparred constantly, always pushing each other to improve. But the fear never left them. They could feel Vader getting closer. And then, one of them made a mistake. Petro had always been headstrong, impatient. So when he overheard a rumor about Imperial forces nearby, he thought it was his chance. Against Ahsoka's orders, he snuck off to fight. He never came back. Ahsoka gritted her teeth, staring at the holomap of the Imperial Star Destroyer. The transmission had been brief, Petro's voice shaking as he described his location before the signal cut out. Her first instinct had been rage. He had disobeyed her orders. But now wasn't the time for lectures. Petro was one of them, and she wouldn't leave him behind. Ahsoka turned to the remaining Padawans. Their wide, fearful eyes reminded her of how young they truly were. "I'm going alone," she told them. "Stay hidden. Keep the ship ready." But Katuni started, stepping forward. "No," Ahsoka's voice was firm. "This isn't a discussion." The Padawans looked at each other, torn between their fear and their loyalty. Huyang placed a reassuring hand on Katuni's shoulder, his ancient voice calm. "We must trust Ahsoka," he said. Ahsoka met their gazes one last time before turning away, pulling up her hood as she strode toward the ship's airlock. She could do this. She had to. The Imperial Star Destroyer loomed ahead, its metal hull stretching endlessly against the void of space. Ahsoka clung to the underside of a supply shuttle, her fingers tight against the cold metal as it was pulled into the hangar bay. As soon as the ship docked, she dropped down, pressing herself into the shadows. Troopers moved in formation, unloading cargo and checking supplies. Ahsoka waited, her breath slow and controlled, then slipped through an open corridor. Her body moved like a shadow, silent and precise. Past security checkpoints, past stormtrooper patrols. Every step, every turn, was calculated. She followed the cold pulse of the Force, guiding her toward Petro's presence. After what felt like an eternity, she reached the detention block. Peering around the corner, she spotted two stormtroopers guarding a reinforced door. Ahsoka reached out with the Force. The first trooper stiffened, his blaster lowering. "Hey, I think I heard something down the hall." The other trooper frowned. "What? I didn't hear." "Come on, let's check it out." The second trooper hesitated, then followed his partner down the corridor. As soon as they were gone, Ahsoka darted forward, slicing through the door's control panel. The mechanism hissed, and the door slid open. Inside, Petro sat bound to a chair, his face bruised but defiant. "Ahsoka," he gasped. "Come on, let's get you out of here." Ahsoka stepped forward, igniting her lightsaber to cut his restraints. But Petro's face darkened. "No. No, Ahsoka, you have to go. It's a trap." Ahsoka's heart stopped. Then, a cold wave crashed through the Force, suffocating, relentless. A presence so familiar, yet so utterly wrong. She knew that darkness. She had felt it before. The realization hit her like a blaster bolt to the chest. She dropped to her knees, eyes wide in horror. No. The door behind her slammed shut. The temperature in the room seemed to plummet. Then, the deep, mechanical breathing filled the silence. The air crackled as the red glow of a lightsaber illuminated the room. Darth Vader stepped forward, his shadow stretching across the floor. For a moment, Ahsoka couldn't move. "It's you," she whispered. Vader's helmet tilted slightly. "The apprentice lives." Ahsoka's hands tightened around her sabers. Vader lunged. Their blades clashed, white against red, sending a shockwave through the room. Ahsoka ducked low, spinning beneath his attack, but Vader's strength was overwhelming. Each strike pushed her back, forcing her to retreat. She had fought Inquisitors. She had fought Grievous. But this was different. Blades flashed, sparks flying as they dueled across the room. Vader's movements were precise, relentless. Ahsoka's were swift, adaptive. She dodged his downward strike, flipping over him, only for his Force grip to catch her mid-air and hurl her into the wall. Pain shot through her body as she landed hard. Vader strode toward her, towering, unyielding. "You cannot run from this," he said. Ahsoka wiped blood from her lip, pushing herself to her feet. "I'm not running." She charged. The fight surged into the hallway, then into the main hangar, sabers flashing furiously. Then, as Vader swung for her neck, she twisted and slashed his helmet open. The crack echoed through the hangar as a portion of his mask shattered away. Beneath it, a single scarred eye burned through the darkness. Ahsoka froze, and then, in a voice not his own, "Ahsoka!" It was him. It was Anakin. For the briefest second, she saw her master, the man who had trained her, who had protected her, the man she had loved like family. Her voice trembled. "Anakin!" His expression seemed to waver. His breath hitched. Then, Vader snarled. The Sith surged back, shoving her away with the Force. Ahsoka tumbled backward, just as the Padawans burst into the room. Huyong led them, blasters firing as they rushed to Petro. "Ahsoka!" Katuni shouted. "No!" Ahsoka turned, eyes wide. "Get out of here! Now!" Gungi and Zat quickly untied Petro, supporting him as they ran. Vader moved to intercept them. Ahsoka threw herself in his path. Their blades locked again, but Ahsoka knew she couldn't win. Not this time. So she did the only thing she could. She sealed the blast doors, cutting herself off from the younglings. "No!" Katuni screamed. The Padawans pounded on the door, sensing what was coming. Then, the Force shattered. Ahsoka Tano was gone. Silence. Huyong, his metallic face unreadable, ushered the Padawans away. The younglings drifted through hyperspace, silent. No words were spoken. There was only the weight of loss, and the knowledge that their protector was gone. The galaxy had taken everything from them, and now they were truly on their own. Again. Drop the scenarios you would like to see in the comments, and I will pick one every week. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one.